I think Sterek is a bizarre, weird, twisted thing, and I think that anyone who pays more attention to Sterek than the show isn't watching the show for the right reasons.
Hey you guys, so I know you saw the title. Today we're going to talk about how Sterek, the ship on Teen Wolf, basically ruined the show. Now, I want to preference this video by saying that most of my critiques honestly have nothing to do with Tyler Hexman or Dylan O'Brien. I think even when all of this was at its peak, I didn't really see anyone making it a point to exclude them from the narrative. I know that sounds crazy because it was about their characters. You would assume, well, whatever happened with the ship had to do with their creative decisions as the actors. But from what I found out, they really had no say. I'm going to plug two clips right here that show that they didn't have a lot to do with the fact that Sterek wasn't pursued on the show, and I'm just going to let the clips speak for themselves.
Yeah, Derek and Styles are on a little bit of a break. Or no, I don't know. We don't have that many scenes this year for some reason. For some reason, I won. Jeff was thinking.
But it was, it's like I really wanted to have one last moment between Derek and Styles that was, Derek kind of picking on him, but in a way of saying, like, I only do it because I love you. But with the Sterek stuff, it's always weird. I feel like every once in a while I've seen something somewhere where someone would say something about, us being so anti-Sterek or not wanting it, and I've always found it interesting because we've never had a problem with it. And there have been comments about us saying that, we made sure that it never made it onto the show, and I'm flattered that people think that us as the actors actually have the power to make those decisions, but like, we have no say over any of that stuff. So if anybody's ever been offended by thinking that I have some weird feelings towards it or anything, I absolutely don't. I wish that I hope you guys enjoy it, and I love that you guys are creative and take the characters and make it your own. So it's never been something that's upset me or anything. I believe someone on this show at one point possibly may have done an interview and made some comments that were very ill-informed, incredibly ill-informed. So if anyone's ever been offended, I apologize. Never had any problems with it. So
go, guys. On go. 3, 2, 1, go.
During this whole quarantine mess, I've been rewatching Teen Wolf. Technically, actually, I've been finishing Teen Wolf. I never finished the show when it first aired. So, I don't know, watching it kind of sent me back into this mindset of being like 15, 16, and remembering all of the drama that surrounded Sterek and Teen Wolf kind of felt like a little bit of a fever dream. So I wanted to revisit that, go into it, talk about how Sterek and how the Sterek fandom was treated by certain people on the show kind of led to the demise of the show. So first, we're going to start off with a little background information about the show, about kind of the history of the show, and why this whole thing pissed people off so badly. So here's the thing. When Teen Wolf first started out as a show, it got rave reviews for the fact that it had plenty of LGBTQ representation compared to a lot of other shows at the time. They tried to kind of integrate the characters and make their sexuality seem as normal as possible. They weren't a huge deal. It was just gay kids who happened to be in high school, and that was a part of their character, but it really wasn't. Who cared? For a while. And then they started to get a lot of flack, mainly from the Sterek fandom, after they started to tease the fact that Styles may be bisexual for multiple seasons and never cashed in on it. Mainly after the Sterek craze got so giant, it was kind of a slap in the face for a lot of the fans for the show to almost immediately after saying they were going to add more gay characters to the show to almost immediately give Styles a female partner. Same thing with Derek, to immediately give him a female partner, both in the same season, when they added one kind of side character to be the gay character. One common theme I saw a lot through Teen Wolf in that regard, especially watching it as an adult, is that a lot of the representation was shown by side characters. If there was a side character who was gay, they never really fleshed out any of their relationships. They never really got any growth as a character. The only character that comes to mind that actually really got quite a bit of screen time and his sexuality got talked about a lot in a non-joking manner mainly was Mason in season 4 forward of the show. A lot of people's minds go straight to Danny, but Danny, when you really go back and look at it, they quite literally use him as queer bait in season like 1 or 2, and you see him often when it's kind of used as the setup for a joke about Styles' sexuality. Whenever they need to kind of poke fun at the fact that Styles might be bi, here's Danny to help complete the joke. Here's Styles in a gay club, let's use all these drag queen actors as kind of a setup for a joke about how Styles might be bi, knowing that they were never going to pursue it. Teen Wolf had a really bad history of killing off its POC and LGBTQ characters, or in Danny's case, he just kind of disappears out of nowhere. So that, for a lot of people, kind of put a sour taste in their mouth already with how the show dealt with LGBTQ representation. So when Sterek blew up and became as big of a thing as it was almost instantaneous with how fast people realized that the show had no real intention of actually portraying Sterek on scene. I will say, personal anecdote, I'm a 22-year-old adult now rewatching Teen Wolf. I was 15 when most of this was in its heyday, so kind of going back and watching it as an adult, I don't mind that they didn't show Sterek on screen. I really liked that it was kind of a slash thing. I enjoyed reading all of the renditions of it that have occurred in fan fiction. I know I have friends who have never watched the show, have never cared about Teen Wolf as a show, but love the Sterek shit because of how much exposure it got on AO3 and how hyped it got because it wasn't canon. However, I'm gonna be realistic. I totally understand how and why so many people thought that it was going to be canon, mainly because of how horribly the actual staff of the show, mainly the producer, writer, creator, Jeff Davis, and co-producer Tyler Posey kind of set the ship up to fail. Now I'm gonna rally back and mention that at the beginning of this video, the Tyler Posey clip that you see is him commenting on Sterek. It is one of the most notable clips any Sterek fan remembers when this happens. I remembered it and it made me want to go back and revisit this topic because I remembered all of the Sterek stuff happening. I remember people were super angry at Tyler Posey. I remember people were super pissed off at the show. And then I just never really heard about the actual show again. I think a lot of it wasn't necessarily that they didn't pursue Sterek, even though there were a lot of issues with that. We'll get into it. But I think it's mainly because they teased it so much, mainly for voting purposes. There was a clip that's still on the internet that shows Dylan O'Brien and Tyler Hoechlin kind of giving a little bit of fan service and saying, you know, we'll give you Sterek, more Sterek on the show if you vote for us for this award for, I believe it was like Teen Choice or something. So here come the logistical things that kind of led to everyone's dislike for Teen Wolf centered around the Sterek problem. Tyler Posey. The Tyler Posey issue and how he reacted to it kind of far greater pissed everyone off than even Jeff Davis not including the ship in the show, mainly just because his phrasing of what he said it resonated deeper than just, oh, I don't understand a ship, I don't get it. It came across as, I have disdain for it, I don't like it, it disgusts me. The people who follow it or believe in it or want it. I think you're bizarre. I don't understand. So to any listener who saw that and heard it and or saw the excerpt of what he said on Tumblr, you know, it's kind of like, wow, like if he thinks this ship is bizarre and weird, and if he thinks that anyone who's watching the show to see this interaction is weird, then what does that make me for believing in the ship? So when I say Sterek basically ruined Teen Wolf, I don't necessarily mean that the actual fandom intentionally ruined the show. I mean that the show and the way that it handled the fandom kind of led to the show's downfall. I will try my best to find any like watch time or like viewership stats. If I can find some, I'll show them on screen here. But I just remember on the ground level, I remember when all of this happened, just no one really talked about the show the same. Of course, there were people who enjoyed the show and didn't care about Sterek and didn't care about representation at all. So they had, you know, a grand old time finishing the show. But for a lot of people, it was just never the same finishing it. I remember the same thing kind of happened with the 100, and I love the 100. I think it's an amazing show. I wish it got more hype, but the viewership and kind of the audience's trust in the show was never the same after they saw how they dealt with an LGBTQ character and kind of the disregard for that character, or in, you know, Teen Wolf's case, also not only ignoring their LGBTQ characters, but also teasing their audience with a new one that would have been between two main characters and then instantly shooting it down. So to kind of wrap this up, I think a lot of how Sterek contributed to Teen Wolf's decline in just respect, I think, is the main thing here amongst their audience. A lot of it has to do with Tyler Posey. He was a co-producer on the show at the time, and I think he had a lot more power than basically anyone else on the entire cast. He had a more veto power than everyone else. And I'm not saying that it's only him or that it couldn't have been Jeff Davis or it couldn't have been anyone else on the crew or the cast or whatever, but it does seem like he had the most veto power and had the strongest voice against the ship, mainly just because, like I said, it was a ship that transcended the show. I know people now to this day as an adult who read fanfics and stuff who have never watched an episode of Teen Wolf, but if I talk about it, they can go toe to toe because they've read Sterek fanfictions and were more interested in that than the show. And I get it. If you're a main character, you're the lead actor, it must be frustrating to all of a sudden have your show usurped by this fictional ship that, to you in your mind's eye, has had absolutely no buildup and has no potential for anything more than what the show has given it so far. So I think it was a culmination of how Tyler Posey reacted to it, along with kind of the issues the show already had with LGBTQ rep, with POC rep. And then there was also this element, of course, of just, it's fine when you talk about it to dangle it in our faces, but we're all delusional, apparently, to think that this could actually flesh out and be a real thing. So that's all I got. This was my first video back on this channel. I think this may be more of a commentary channel for me, not necessarily on like YouTuber things. I honestly don't really care. It just kind of depends on what what it's about or what the YouTuber did or whatever. I'm not sure yet. We'll see, I guess. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I can upload on here more. I miss seeing you guys. I miss talking to you guys on my actual main YouTube. I hopefully will be uploading there more often. We'll see. I don't know. I think this might just be my channel for throwaway kind of talking about things that are just on my mind. Like, I thought about this because I had started watching the show again after the show's been off TV for like 3 years or something, and I decided to go back and revisit it, and it reminded me of all the Sterek mess. So thank you guys so much for listening, so much for watching, and I will see you back here whenever I decide to upload again. Please subscribe.